Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
all right. So this is okay, talk. So welcome to our today's session for Python Crash
Bye.
course book. And the first thing we discuss is called a list. And a list is a kind of data structure that can be used to store many multiple objects. So for example, this is a list, and this list contains objects like numbers 1, 2, 3, but also a list can contain different kind of data structure in it. So for example, here we have string and we have string here, but we can have conversion of string, as you can see here, like integer and Boolean. So a string is kind of data structure that can be used to so many objects. What we will see in this session is just to see some of the operations available for list data structure. What can we use with the list? So that's what we're gonna see. So the first thing we will see here is how you can actually do what is called indexing, get some element from the list. So for example, here, this is a list, and we call the name the list row 1. This is element first, second, third, fourth, fifth. What we should know here is a list have what is called index numbers. So index numbers range from here, for example, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what we should know that lists start indexing with 0. So always lists start indexing with 0. So here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, if we want to subset get this first item, what we can do here, I declare my index, my list, which is called row 1. If I want to get this first item, I say, okay, row 0. So this will give me the first item, which is Facebook. So also, but we also have what is called negative indexing. So here we start indexing from the beginning of the list. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But we can also have negative indexing. Negative indexing starts from the last n, but it does not start from 0. It starts from -1. So Malama Murja, why it starts from -1, not 0? Since positive indexing start from 0, right? Positive indexing start counting from 0. Why negative indexing start from -1, not 0? Malama Murja. So in a list, negative indexing starts from -1 because -0 is the same as 0. -0 is the same as 0 because of this notion that for any real number, when you have a plus minus a, it will give you 0. That is definition. So for 0, when we have 0 plus minus 0, it gives us 0. So you can see if you say indexing, negative indexing start from -0, then you are invariably saying start from 0, right? So that is why we don't have -0. But for positive, we have for this positive indexing, we start from 0, but negative indexing is -1. When you say -0, is you are saying 0, right? So when we say row start negative indexing with -5, then here you can see here it gives us the first one. But if we said start, if we can have something like this, row 1, and we said 0, then here it gives us also 5 because 0 position index. The index 0 is Facebook, which is 5. The index -5 is Facebook, which is this. So we can do a lot of operations here. We have what is called hello here, which is a string, and we can concatenate it with another string. Row 0, row 1, 0 is Facebook. When it returns, it will give us a hello Facebook. So what will happen if you try to access, index something which actually there is no, for example, here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but you try to say row 5, which does not exist. This will give you an error. So here we index row 6. because our item we don't have 6, it gives us an error.
Recording in progress.
So index error can always be integer. So also here, this index number is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It cannot be a continuous, any real number like 2.1.5 or something like that. It will always be an integer. So you can see here we have row 2, it gives us this. But when we have row 2.0, this will give you an error, right? When we have row 2.0, it will give you an error, but row 2, it gives you the result, but this gives you an error, right? So this is something that we should know. And the list can contain another list. So for example, here we have row 2, which is a list, big list. Can you see big list? But it can contain another list. We have a list inside it, and we have another list inside. So list can contain many items. It can contain lists, it can contain even tuple inside. We'll see what tuple is. Now, if you have list of lists, maybe, so you see we have giant list, we have 2 lists inside. But when I say row 2, which is a new list here, big list, I said, okay, row 2, this, what will happen now here? This will give me the first list. All right. Okay, let me run this one. So when I run this one, when I say row 2, this will give me the first list. Can you see this first list, right? This one. But when I say row 1, this will give me the second list, which is this list, right? But how can I now access this number, Twitter, if we have multiple? Or how can I access this number? So for you to access, because I have 2 lists inside one list, you need to do something like this. This represents the first list. This represents the second list, the value in the first list. So here it means I'm saying extract list 1, list the first list. What is the first list? Which is this. And after you extract it, extract the first item. So what is the first item? You can see is Twitter, right? It's Twitter. Now, how can we extract this 0.1? Man, Samuel, how can we extract 0.1?
Hello?
Yes, how can we extract 0.1?
That is going to be row 2, then we have 1, then and that is in angle bracket 1, then we have another, okay. I mean 2 in angle
so
bracket.
The first one, what can we say first one?
Row 1, okay. Then 2.
Then 2, right? So here we put 2, and we have something like this. So this is how we can index items of multiple lists. So you can see the first index dictates which value to use, that is which list value to use, and the second indicates the value within the list value. So this one shows us which list, and the second value shows us which value in the list. So this is how we can use list. Now, how can we get list from another list? So now we have seen how we can subset a list, picking only a single number, only one number. That is what we see now through indexing. But how can you subset a list from another list? So for example, here, I have a list here, and I want to take this one, these 2 items, or these 3 items. That is what we call slicing, list slicing. What we saw first there is called list indexing. You are indexing because these numbers are called index numbers, but we have what is called slicing. So for example, here I have this A. When I said this one here, give me this, which will give me this one, which is bash. This is indexing. But when I say, okay, I need this from here to here, so now I can use it 0. It starts from the beginning to 2, but this 2, it is not inclusive. Then it will give me from the first one and the second one. So this is 0 indexing, this is 1 indexing, this is 2 indexing. So it will not give me the it's not inclusive, so it will give me this and this. So that for here we have something like this. This is called slicing. So here we have Bash and Abubakar. So this is called slicing, and this is called indexing. So this means that we should know the difference between slicing and indexing. If we want to do indexing, that is, we want to take an item we use only one number. If we want to do indexing, if we want to do indexing, we use only one number. If we want to do slicing, we put two numbers separated by this. There is a shortcut for indexing. So sometimes you see only the first number is empty, but the second number you put, this is telling you start from the beginning. When you say this is some other, start from 0 like this. So let me show this one here. When we have this gives me like, go from this to 3, give me Abubakar Bash Isa. It means it will not reach up to this fourth, the third indexing, which is, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So, but it will not give me, it will give me 1, 2, this 3. So that's, you can see here. But also when we have this, we can put start from 0 to 3. So this is we can see explicit notation, but this is shorthand notation. So this is explicit. So sometimes you see, but also you can see at the end when we give us 1 and the last one is empty. It means start from 1 to the end. So yeah, so this is same as but you can also when we have both the start and the ending are all empty, it means copy the whole list. Start from the beginning and go to the end. That is, now we copy the whole list. That is now what is called slicing and indexing. Any question before you continue?
Ka san ba shekaran mu biyar muna koyar da data structure, so all still is covered.
So let's go on. Getting a list length with length. So
hello. Wait, network ina ne ko na Shamsi ne? Wanne ne mai problem?
Ba kwa jina?
Yanzu muna jin ka, amma yana fluctuating.
Samin kana jina?
Gaskiya network ɗin ku ne, ni dai ina ji dai.
Yawa ni ma haka na yake, wala ba na ji da an wuce ma duk wanda wanda aka tattaka.
Ba na malamin bane ba na.
Okay, namu ne?
Ko za ku fita ku sake reconnecting yawa.
Bari mu
Okay, let me stop though.
Bari mu restarting. Dan gaskiya duk ban ji me Shamsu ya faɗa ba.
Allah sarki.
Ka daɗe kana koyar da data structure mutumi na.
A ba kai. Tun fa ka manta tun farkon zuwa na wurin da ka fara da kai. So ga san wannan ai ana yin sa. In ka zo kana koyar da are.
Wannan ba wani abu ne mai wahala ba dama.
Shine just brush over them. Kamar sun dawo.
Okay. Na ga sana.
Na ga danya.
Okay, so
sannan na kira ki kin kan magana wannan group din na deep learning, kin ce min kin yi joining ko?
Na yi joining, na shiga.
So na kira ki ne da ai ban turo miki da littafin deep learning din ba ko?
Ba kai turon ba, ranar na kira ka kai kuma lokacin kaman kai ma you were offline. Ranar Friday.
Mun ta meeting call.
Na ga naka.
Na so baki na nuna na turo miki da littafin na ga miki because last week an yi chapter 2 na littafin because chapter 2 kuma is
ranar yaushe kuke yi?
Ranar Alhamis ake yi.
Da daddare ko da safe?
Da rana ne ma karfe 5-4 ne ma ina ji ne.
Ya min lokacin ina lab. Ya min.
Zan miki sharing din littafin because na ga yanzu ke kin ma san su kin iya su wannan LSTM su RN kin gane, so yanzu shi littafin nan practical din su ne yanda zaki ga me ake suke nufi irin kin gane abin da yake nufi? So shi
gane ko CNN din nan duka wannan su in ga an ce min yana da 2 layers. Input output din nan da wace ce.
So abin da ake yi kenan. Zan miki share.
Okay to.
Su sami ni ba su zo nan ba su.
A'a su ma za su zo, sun zo.
To kai mun abin ka ne mai hada ni da wannan abin. Ni ba lexicon nake yi ba. Lexicon zan yi fa.
Dan ubanka ai da su ake yi. Lexicon da zaka zo ka yi su ne ai.
Ina yi deep learning?
Wallahi zaka yi da deep learning su ba lexicon da ai. ita sanar yanzu ta san wa'annan abubuwan, so ita practical din su yanzu
a ta wuce mallan yanzu knowledge map
a ni fa ban wuce ku ba wai daga an yi ma wani group wai an ce wai ba ni a ciki nace ai wallahi sai na shiga
a ba ta ne ba ke ba a ciki
wai na wuce gurin ina na wuce ku ringa fasa min kai ba inda nayi nace wallahi sami da juro
cewa ne zan pushin din su naga sun tsaya nace wannan watan su dage su san abin da suke yi suke so su yi proposal kamar malama Burja wannan watan na strike to sai nace to kai mu dame abin nace wannan barin abin nan din su pushin din su so kuma sai nace musu a to ai sana tunda ta wuce wannan wajen ita ma shi kan benefit nace ko ita ma ai ya kamata mu koma can sai Sami ya ce to haka ne yake ma ai din
gaskiya ina na wuce ina na je ba inda na je muna tare kaka kawo
ai na ga musu yanzu su dinga bin ki wallahi ke zaki dinga koya musu wannan abin wallahi kin gama wannan
ai ranar Monday ma za mu zauna za ta nuna
yawwa abin da nace musu
kuma wallahi kaga Saminu da naji wannan bidiyon ba abubuwan da na ƙara da su zaka gani ba paper da zan turo maka Shamsu nayi wasu abubuwa a red duk baci naji bidiyon ne na ƙara wanda mana ni
sha sai tunani ne ke kin wuce wajen nan ni ban miki sharing ba ai
ni na fa na wuce to na dawo baya na yi repeating
Malam Ahmad da ka dawo
to
okay so maybe we can talk wannan after so da sai mu ga tunda duka mu zamu iya tafiya a wajen ni ai tunani nake ke kin gama wannan duka literature din so yasa ban miki magana ba so let's go so you can find the length of the list. So this is a list of items. We can use this len to find the list, the number of items inside the list. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 items. This is a function. So we can also change the values in the list. So here we have our list item, which is A, which is this, but we want to change this item, the first one. So you remember, always if we index with 0, it means the first one. So now here, if I have an item called Kiri, I now assign it to the first item. Then I have this. Now it means the first item now will now change to Kiri. If I run it, it will give me something like this, which is Kiri. So you can see this is how you can change indexing. But also when I do this -1, then it means the last item, because I put -1, it means the last item is now Bala. Can you see that? So this is how you can update the content in the list, change the element in the list. The next thing we can see is list concatenation, how you concatenate a list. So here I have a list A and B, and now you can just sum them. When you sum them, they can give you the list, something like this. And when you do multiplication with the list, these two will be multiplied by all the elements inside, which we have something like this. C, oh, I don't have C. C, what is the C? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so it will be like C by 2. It will take this one, not multiply, and we have twice of this. So this is the first one, this is the second one. So that is some of the operations. So let's oh, baki aji malama. Ai internet din da malama take amfani da shi ina ji dan na free din nan ne ko wannan data da ake siya din nan ta mai arha shi sai
wallahi ga ganin hasbi yaki MTN yaki gaba ɗaya ban ji kwartoni tun daga fara ma ni ban
ai hajja in kina da Airtel gaskiya yana ba da
so let's look at
kina da Airtel.
So what is method? So a method is the same as function except it is called on a value. A method is a function same as function except it is called on a value. For example, if a list we have this if we have a list value were stored in a car, you call the index list method on that list. So for example, here we have a index, we have a list called car. We can call this is called a method index on this. So let me show you what it means by that. So for example, here we have now a list called cars, which are Honda, Yamaha, and this. Now we have index. Now when I have index, I call it on the value on the list. And now put the index of Yamaha. This index is a method that returns where is the location, what is the index of this object Yamaha. This is 1. Can you see that? So this index is now a method of list. Now Another thing here, as you can see, the same thing we can say, what is the index of Suzuki? It returns 2. That is the index. So this index is a method. This index is a method. But when you try to index something, it will give you an error because we don't have RAV4, therefore we have an error. And when you have duplicate in the list, the index of the first one is returned. So here I have Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Suzuki. Now, when I call index of Suzuki, it will still give me the first index one. So when you have multiple items, you will get the index of the first item. So this kind of stuff are called method that you call on a list. So a method, how can you call a method? You write the object, which is list, dot, you say dot. So whenever you see in Python, you have something like this, x dot. In Python, whenever you see, we see x dot, we call something like this. Then this xx is object. And this x only is called a method. Because in Python, everything is object. So you always see in Python, we are using this dot. That thing is method. Now let's look at how you can add items in the list. This is a list called a car. We have append. Append is a method that can be used to add other things to the list. So when we call cars that append Suzuki, now we add Suzuki at the end. So you can see append add to the end of the list, because here you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4 items. Now I have Suzuki. Now I can add Suzuki at the end. So you can see when I say cars that append Suzuki, now I have Suzuki at the end. Can you see that? So I have, so in a nutshell, append, add item to the end of the list. But append method called add the argument to the end of the list. But we can use another method called insert that can insert element to any location, because append automatically append to the end of the list. But if I use a method called insert, so I say, okay, the first location, insert Suzuki. So now when I say this, I rub this one. Now this one will give me. So you can see in the first location, I insert Suzuki. It means that this insert method can be used to insert object in the list at any location. So this method is a method for list. Now, how many methods do we have for a list object? How many methods do we have for the list object? Malam Amurja ta dawo ko tana jin mu?
Ga ta dai ka gane tana wurin, but we don't know if
okay. So here you can see we have, but how many methods do we have for object list? And how can we say this is a method for list? This is a method for whatsoever object. So the code is card.append and cast insert. Not okay. So here you can see there is one thing. Want to show here. So if we have this one, there's something I want to. So okay. So now here we have cast.append Suzuki. Now card.append Suzuki automatically add item to the end of the list. And when I call cast, I can see that item has been added. But what about insert? Also insert, I say 0, it insert automatically at the beginning. Now, when we call this method insert and append, if you look at it, we do not assign value to, we do not say like this. We do not say like this. Okay, cast, we do not assign new value. We do not say cast is equal to cast. We do not say new car is equal to cast that append. We only call append method on the object on the list, and now this will automatically update the list cast. You don't assign this method, when you call append this kind of method, you don't assign them to the new object. this kind of what we call, this is what we call modification in place. So the code this and this, not this and this, and cast neither append nor insert give the new value of cast as its return value. So in fact, the return of this are none. So this is what we call in place modification. It means the moment you call append the Suzuki, automatically cast this object has been updated. We don't assign, for example, remember if I want to add another item, for example, here I have cast. If I have cast, I can have this, okay? So now remember if I want to have this, I can say, okay, cast, I want to change. So you remember this one? This is a Toyota. I want to update the first location, right? So you can see I do some kind of assignment. And when I call cast, you can see the first is updated. But these functions like append, you don't assign anything. Automatically, the list will be updated. So also in insert. So this kind of modification is called what we call in place stop. Yeah. So in fact, you can see if you call this card then insert Suzuki and you assign it to variable, this will actually return none. So let's return this and see what is the value of modified cast. You can see it is none because it does not return a value. So insert and append method do not return a value. In fact, what they return is 0. So when you want to insert any item, just call the list and the method. Yeah. So we have different type of method now. We have seen insert, we have seen append. So this method, are they for all items in data structures? No. So method belong to a single data type. So what kind of data type our cast is? So our car here now is this. Our cars, let's look at it type. So we can see the type of this car is a what? List, right? It's a list. Now, this method that we call append and insert, they are only method for a list object. This means that different data types, they have their own list of methods. So you see now here, for example, I create an object called cars, which is a string. Can you see Honda cars, which is string, and now call append cars.append. Now this will give me an error because cars is not a list. Cars here is just a string. So it means this method cannot be applied to a string object. Yes. Look at the attribute error. String object has no attribute append. Can you see that? So each object has its own list of methods that we can apply. And how can we know them? We know them by doing, practice and yeah, right? So there are a lot I will show you a lot of methods for different kind of objects. So let's move on. Now we understand method, what methods are. Methods are function for specific objects. So how can we remove values in a list? So example here, we have a list called 1, 2, 3. Now I want to remove the first item here. I can do like this, delete. I call the name of the item. Now this will remove A. Now when I call, remove the first item, you can see now we have only 1 and 3. 1, it means this is 0, this is 1. It removed the second item. So I have 1 and 3 here, right? Can you see that? Now this is called how we can delete an item, but you can also delete the whole list. So if I say, okay, I want to delete the whole list, so I can do something like this, delete A. So deleting this, now if I now delete A, when I call A again, Do we have A and do we have A? Do we have A now? After I delete A, do we have A? No. When I run A, it will give me an error because I already deleted A. Gaba enter. Right? So this is how we can delete an item. And you can see here, delete is not a method, right? Delete is not a method because it does not act on, it's not something that we call dot. Then delete is a keyword in a Python. It's just a keyword in a Python. So delete is not a, right. So let's look at another thing, removing item using pop. So you can see when we remove an, okay, let me see this. Let me run this again. We have A here. Now, when I have A here, I delete an item. This does not return any value, but it just do modifying in place. It means the value of A has now been updated. It does not contain now what have been deleted. Now we have this, then you can see this. This is modify in place operation. In place, it means when you call it automatically update. Now, what about if you want to remove what you want to return the item you deleted? You can see this one does not return the item you deleted, but just to delete the item and return and now do in place. But when you want to return the item you delete, we can use what is called pop, right, in the list. So here, for example, I have a list called motorcycle. Now, when I call pop, it will remove the last item, this one. So you can see this method, it actually returns the object removed from the list, right? So, but this pop, by default, it removes the last item from the list. But you can say, okay, you can specify the element you want to remove. When I say remove this one, that item, when I say this, pop, oh, I think I don't have this up to this. Let me say one. Okay, so here I have this. This is the object, motorcycle. I have 0, index 1, index 2, right? Now, when I say pop index 1, that is the first one, not 0, 1, then it means this gives us, when we call motorcycle, it gives us the first one, which is Yamaha, which is this one, Yamaha. Can you see that? It means pop, when we do not put any value, we just call the method. So you can see pop is a method of a list, right? When we do not put any value, it will just pop the last item. But we can put number of items we want to specify the item we want to remove, right? So you can use pop to remove an item from any position in the list, including the list item. So here we can see this is the example I gave. Right, Malam Amurja, are you there? Dr. Samino, are you there? Kuna jina?
Ba Dr. Samino. Ina jin.
Gaskiya akwai Samino, akwai Sana, akwai Murja.
So,
akwai Dr. Shamsu.
What about Doctor, removing an item by value? Now, removing an item by value using remove method. Now you can see here, we remove an item by index. That is, what is the index of Honda? What is the index of
0.
Yamaha? Index of Yamaha
is 1.
Index of Honda is
0.
So if I want to remove Yamaha, I call pop. But what about if I want to remove Yamaha by its name? I don't know the index. I only know the item I want to remove. Then you can use a function called remove. So here you can see I have a list of numbers. I have prime numbers. Now I want to remove 9. I don't need to call the index. I can just put the number I want to remove. Now I remove this one. So this one you can see the remove function is also modify in place. It does not return any number, anything, but it just removes. So now when we call prime numbers,
9 will be
Yes,
eliminated.
the first, but remove the first item encountered. So we have 2 9, 1 9, and this, but it will remove the first one it encountered. Can you see that? Yeah, so here we have another object called names. And here we said, okay, names.remove Isa. You can see here, I say remove Isa. When I return it,
it will be Musa.
Yes. So this is removing when you know the item you want to remove. You call the item. If you don't know the item, you know it is indexed, you can use pop. So the remove method deletes only the first occurrence of the value you specify. If there is possibility the value appears more than once in the list, you will need to use loop to remove everything. So if there is more than one item and you want to remove all, then you need to use loop. And also you see in Python, delete, D-E-L-Y is a keyword, and remove and pop are built-in method. So you see, they have this, they remove them, but they have different purpose. Now let's go to another thing, adding element to a list. So what you can see is that whatever we want to do, we call a method to act on that object. When we are removing item from a list, we remove through a method. When we are deleting, we call pop. So this means that a method is something that performs some action on a particular object. This is in Python, whatsoever you want to do in Python, if it is action to remove, to add, you do it through a method. So let's add another item to a list. Now I have a list, right? I have a list and I want to maybe reverse the item. So this is a list, right? BMW, I want to reverse. So I call a function on the list object, cast.reverse. And let's see what will happen. Let me remove this. This does not make sense. Okay, this one should not be here. I will come to the reverse. So we are talking about the adding item to the list. So we have append method. Append, add, oh God, I need that one. Let me see. Edit, undo. Why is this? What do you do then? Right. I don't know. So what I want to do, let me copy the list of the car. Okay. I think so one good thing. So here you see I've already removed the car, but let me show you. So I can say cars equals to the demon predictive. Predictive. So this is my car, right? Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. And I want to add something. So you can see adding something to a list is an action, right? Then we can call a method called append and now put the thing we want to do. Now, when we call this one append, it will now add an item to the list. So when we call cars, so now cars now has Benz added to it. And append also append at the top of the item. So you can see here, what I want you to understand is just the notion of what is method. Always when you see, we call something like this dot, something, that thing is a method of that class, of that object. So you can see the append method makes it easy to build lists dynamically. So for example, you can start, so for example here, I have an empty list. This is empty list, and I want to add item into it. I want to add Honda, Yamaha. So the moment I run this one, I can have my list here. I can see now what is my motorcycle. I copy this. I say, tell me what is my motorcycle. Remember this is empty list. I created empty list, right? And now I added item Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. Now let me call this one. When I call this one, you can see it contains now Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. Can you see 3 items, right? Now,
Doctor.
Yes.
Can we append at the same time, or we have to be doing it individually?
Right. So this is the question. So if you want to do that, you need to use for look. So here I have my cars, right? I have my cars in a list, and I want to append something. So I have my okay. This is the cars, for example. This is a cars, which is empty, right? Which is empty. Now I have cars that I want. Oh, okay. This is my motorcycle. I have motorcycle, which is empty, but I have a list called cars, right? Which is, for example, here you can see you have them Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. But when you have them maybe in a list and you want to put them inside this empty list, you can use for. So here we say for car in cars. That is for car. Here you can put it anything. You don't need to specify. We'll come to this. That is why I said you should read this chapter for for. So for loop, this is how for loop is in Python. You say for something in something. So what we do is always is that this one is you can put any object, but this one is something that you are looping in. Because this is cars, so the notion we use in Python, because this is cars, then we can call this object as like car, because this is cars. If this is plural, then we use this as singular. So for any car inside cars, what do you want to do? Append car. For car inside cars, append it into this list. Karata on the list. Kun gane turancin kuwa? Okay, yes, good one. I like it.
Variable.
Yes, Malama, yeah, let me come back. So, Malama, here I have an empty list called motorcycle.
Okay.
And one empty list, ina son populating ɗinsa da motoci a cikinsa. How do we do that? Yanda muka yi nan shine kin gan shi na empty sai mu ce motorcycle, sai mu ce append Honda.
Honda, yes.
Motorcycle append Yamaha, zai sa Yamaha ciki. Motorcycle append Suzuki, zai sa. When we call it at the end, we have Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. Is that right? Correct?
It's inside our list of motorcycles.
Yawa. But now sai muka ce ba ma so biyu wannan idan muna da 1 million haka za mu dinga kiran wannan? No, ba ma san wannan.
Yawa.
To yanda muke so ga empty motorcycle din mu, to shi waɗannan abubuwan da muke so mu saka a cikin shi wannan.
Oh yeah.
Waɗannan abubuwan a ina za mu dunkule su. A yanda ake shi list da yake duba muka ce list is a data structure that is used to contain items. So we will put them in a list now. That is
okay,
how
shine muka sa mishi cars. Yes.
List, we call the list called card, which is this. Now to shi kenan yanzu, I want to take each number, each car from the list and put it here. So what I want to do is take the first one and put it inside one. Take a comma. Take the second one and put it inside here. Take the third one and put it inside. How can you do that? To do cycling, we use for loop. If you want to do cycling, you want to cycle through something, you do for loop. So how can we do that? So we say for. That is why I asked you to read that chapter for Abinam, because of this kind of stuff. I know. So for car in cars, this is how you do for loop in Python. You put object here, something, but this one is nothing. All you are saying is that for x in cars. So when I say for s in cars, it means for the first time, for s in cars, it means it will put the first one.
Honda.
Then it will go to the left. If it come back for x in cars, it will now move from the first position 0. It is 1 now. It's Yamaha.
1. Yamaha.
Yes. Then it will all, because it's for loop, it will go to the next iteration. Your x is no longer 1, it's now 2. So it's now Suzuki. Because this is updated automatically because it's for loop, you don't need. So here what I'm saying is that in Python, we put like something meaningful, because I say here you can put anything, X, O, Y, O, Z, but here you should be a variable that you want to cycle in. Which variable you want to cycle in is cars. So now here, the first is for X in cars. It means for the first one, it say the variable you are iterating is 0. It means for Honda, it's the motorcycle dot append car. What is, here, if I say X, I can say, now I will turn here to be X. That is for X in car. What is X in car? That is the first one, which is Honda. Then motorcycle dot append X, Honda, it appended. Now motorcycle now contain the first, before it was empty. Now we populate it with the first item. Now we go to the second round. Now X in cars, the position now is Yamaha.
1.
So it's Yamaha. It will now put it appended. Now Yamaha, it will say append motorcycle dot append Yamaha. So you can see now, it will go back now, it's 3. It's Suzuki. It will now append them. So this will now create a list for, we have motorcycle. When we call motorcycle now, we will have motorcycle, the Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. Madam, kin gane?
Alhamdulillah.
So one shine something like that. So inserting element into a list. So still we are under method of a list. Still remember, as I said, we are talking about method. Methods are function that works on objects. So class is object now. We want to insert something. So you can see insert method allow us to insert things into object to any position. So here we have Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. We have 3 objects, and we want to insert Peugeot in it, right? So when we insert Peugeot, you need to specify the position. So the first item is the position, and here. So when we call this one cars insert, now this will insert this one. So you can see now here we have Peugeot, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. Therefore, cars, now this is modification in place. So it do modify in place. So it automatically updates that. Any question before we continue? Right. So now we have now seen the method for insert. Let's see the method for sort. So this method, as I said, are some of the things you can do on the list, but there are many other stuff you can do on a list. But here we are just showing some, and you learn a lot after. Now you can sort a list permanently, and you can sort a list but not permanently. So here we have a list of cars, and now I said I have my object cars.sort. So this method called sort on our object car. Now we print it here. You can see it sort the cars. We have A, B, S, Toyota. It sort the item, right? So that is what we mean by sorting. But you can also enable one of the object reverse to be true. This means that when you say the reverse, it means it will sort in reverse order. So this is some kind of argument you can put in it. But there are 3 things you should note about the sort method. The first sort method, sort in place. What we mean by in place is that when you call the object, you don't need to assign the method, the result to any value. It sort the cars automatically in place. The moment you call the object sort, it sort in place. I believe now you understand what I mean by in place. You understand what I mean, right? Madam, I think that I can be the in place.
Okay.
Yes. So in place is not like, so for example, spam does sort. We don't have to assign to variable. You just call spam does sort. It will only automatically sort your variable if you have some variable called object. Now, second is that you cannot sort item when they have mix. For example, you have BMW and have a number 2. You cannot sort this one because these are items and this is 2 objects. You cannot sort this one. So you should know that. And also, sort use alphabetical order. Alphabetical order. What do you mean by alphabetical order? Not alphabetical order. So if I have zebra, cat, lion, in alphabetical order, the letters with capital letter comes first. So sort does that. So you can see I have zebra, ant, cat, and lion. By default, if you sort this one, you will expect that ant will come first, C, cat will come second. But when we do that, it will start sorting from capital letters one.
Which is zebra.
Lion comes because L comes before Z. It will come L, zebra, then it will start from the small letters. So these are some of the things we should know when using list. If you want to sort with the capital letter, so you should pass a key, sort key dot string dot lower. That is that they should consider this. So when you pass a key string dot lower, it will list them in the order in this order. Question? Malam Amarja, kin dawo? Malam Amarja magana fa take ba ma jin ta.
Wallahi.
Malam Amarja, kina jin mu?
Wani abin jo.
So internet Malam Amarja yana da matsala. So that is what we call sorting list permanently. So when you call sort method, this sort method to your object, then you sort your list permanently. But you can sort your list temporarily. What do you mean by sorting the list temporarily? When you use sorted, we have our object here, cars, but when I use an object called sorted, it will sort the list temporarily, meaning that I call sorted, now it give me Audi, BMW, Subaru, but my cars is not permanently sorted. Let me call my car again. When I call my car again, I will see the original BMW, Audi, Toyota. Can you see that? So there are two methods for sorting of a list. One, sort the list permanently, which is a sort. The other one, sort the list temporarily. But you can also assign the sorted list into an object. So when I call this sorted list into the object, then it means the temporary sorted is now set to a variable. Now called sorted. Now when I call sorted, I will always have the list sorted, but the class object is still unsorted. Any question, Malama?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Oh, Malama Murja kana jin mu kenan.
Anya, na ji tura mata da text. Na mata
Ta ba da
magana.
ansa, ta ba da ansa, tana ji.
Okay.
Ko kwa ji na?
Okay,
Ba kwa
muna
ji
jin.
na?
Okay, muna jin ki.
O yanzu mun fara jinki.
Wallahi network ina ne na.
So yeah, so
Na rasa inda zan.
so
So
the main
sai
takeaway.
hakuri.
So printing a list in a reverse order. We say you can print a list in a reverse order. So here is a list task. And this is, we can print it here. This is a list. We saw this is a list. And you can print it in a reverse. So when we say cast the reverse. So this reverse function is also doing implex. So you can see when I say cast.reverse, this does not return any value, right? But when I call cast now, you see that it is reverse. Cast. Can you see that it is now reverse, right?
Anya ko wannan abin is not reverse.
It doesn't reverse.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Let me cast. All right. So let's bring the cast here. We have cast here. So BMW, Audi, something like that. Let me call this cast.reverse. And when we call this, it reverses them, right?
Okay.
So that is called, the reverse does not sort backward alphabetically, it simply reverses the order of the list. So it simply reverses, it does not sort the stuff like that. So what I want you to understand is this: given an object, it has ton of methods to act on it. So when this, just put it in your head, when you have an object, now what do you want to do with that object? Then you look for a method that can do that action. So finding the length of a list, we have already seen that. So given a list here, we can have this one to show all the length of the, which is 4. So any question before we continue? Masan, any question? Okay, now let's look at what is called sequence data types. So in Python, lists are not the only data type that represent ordered sequence of values. So you can see list, we use it to store ordered list of value. When we say ordered, we have 1, 2, 3, they are in order. So, but string and list are actually similar if you consider a string to be a list. So string is also like a kind of ordered list. The Python sequence data type include list, string, range object, and tuple. So there are other kind of objects in Python that are sequence. But what we have seen now is only list. Let us see them. So you can see here, this one, this is a list, right? But what is this? Who can tell? What is this? What is car? Which kind of object is this? Here is a list object, right? It's a list object. This one. What of this one? Which kind of object is car, not cars? Mother.
Variable.
Variable. When I say object, let me show you here. When I say object, I mean, so cars.
Oh, string.
Yeah, was string. So here you can see the object here is a list, but car is what? Car is a string, right? So this means that the car and cast, they are different objects. This is a list object. This is a string object, right? But
yes,
we can think of car string object as also maybe a list with only one item. So some of the methods that act on a list can also be act on a string. So let's look at it. So here I have the length of cars, but what about the length of car? So I have 6 lengths. So if you look at this, we have the first one,
Out of this.
2, how many? 6, because it counts this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can you see how many items is 6? So it means the method length, which is acted on list object, can also be acted on what? String object. Yes. Also, slicing that we do on list. You remember slicing, we do something, okay, from 0 to 2, into take some part of the list, right? So also on the string object, you can do the same thing. So when I say string, car is Toyota, it takes the first and the second, so 0 to 2. You remember, it will not include the 2, it will take 0 and 1, which is T and 0. This means that string objects can use many of the things you can do with list can also be done with the string and other values sequence types, like indexing, slicing, and using them for follow with length and with other in operators. So it means that some method that you can use for list object, you can also be used on. For example, BMW, this we have what you call membership operator will come there, like in, it means is it in car? Is BMW inside cars? So when we do this, we can say, yes, BMW is inside. Is this string yo inside the car, Toyota?
Yes, true.
Yes, true. Can you see that? We also have not operator. So we can see here, is P not in car? Is true, right? What about this one? Is O not in car?
False.
It's false, right? So this is kind of thing. So what I'm trying to show you is that some method, as I said previously, that they have distinct stuff, but some operation, as we see now, you can perform them on string and also list objects, like indexing and other stuff. Finally, we have few minutes, we are 6 minutes ahead, but let's quickly finish. Mutable and immutable data types. So we have what is called mutable and immutable data type. What do you mean by mutable and immutable? So list and string are different in important ways, but here we see that list and string, they are somehow similar, right? Because some of the operation on list can be done on string, but they are different in many ways. A list value is mutable data type. It can have value added or change, but a string is immutable. What do you mean that a string, if I have a string called name Abubakar, and I want to add Isa, because here maybe I say, okay, you remember in list, we can add item, but in string, it's immutable. You cannot add item to a string object. So you can see this is one of the main difference between a list and string. String is immutable and lists are mutable. You can update it. So you can see here, you cannot update or append. You cannot use this method to it. So that is for proper way to mutate, to actually add some, to access some element in the list, in the string. It just, for example, here I want to add update the name of this guy, his name. I want to put his name, his father name, Abubakar Isa. What you can do is that you need to slice it, the whole, it is complete. So here name 0 to 8, it means you are slicing it completely. So I can say, when I have this one, I mean, I'm slicing, I'm copying the whole distance, right? So what the same as this one, right? It's the same as start from the beginning to the 8, because here 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can you see that? So when I put 8, it means it will copy from 0 to 7. That is copy from this one from here to here. Now I say plus, I put empty space, and now plus Isa. This when I run this one, it will give me this Abubakar Isa. Does that make sense, Dr. Saminu? So so finally,
look at what we are doing. Somebody will just be called Abacha.
Amma ba irin taka fa aka bashi ba. Me baka aka bashi?
Ai shine nace me ma dace. Ai a ce maka da kan ma.
A wannan ba komai ai me baka ce.
For it gaskiya.
Bai isa ya sa sunan sai ya sa PhD nan a gaba ba ai.
Ito gaskiya da akwai wannan bambancin.
So now we have seen
ni da na je gurin malaman Hausa sun gaya min bambancin.
Now we have seen two kind of data types. We have seen string, we have seen list, but we have another data type, tuple. One difference between string and list is that string is immutable and list is mutable. You can add update. Another type is tuple. So what is tuple? Tuple is this data type that can be used to store items, but they are immutable. Because, for example, when you want to store the list of items or password of a people, you are designing a website and you want to store the password of people. You don't want people to hack to change the password. So you don't store the list of the password in a list. You can store the list of the password in a what? Tuple.
In a tuple.
Yes, so tuple is the same Ali, but only instead for us to use curly brace here, we use braces here. The same thing. So you can see here, we have this one here. When I call cast the 0, that is the first one, it gives me this one. The same we access the list, but we cannot use append method or whatsoever method. You can see here, we can say cast 0 slicing. We can select the first one and this one here. You can see it gives us here. And also we use the same method length to see the length of the tuple. But we cannot actually add other stuff to it, right? So for example here, yeah. So, but the main way that tuple are different from it is that tuples like string are immutable. Can you see that they are immutable? So, for example, here I have my list, I have my tuple here, and I want to update. Remember, in list you can add item by you can change item by using this assignment operator, right? So, for example, if I have a list, here. I have a list here. And now where I say cast 1, position 1, I say, okay, this is Pujo. Yes, so this is Pujo. Now, when I have this, what will happen to this? So I mean, what will happen to this list? What is happening if we run this? What will happen?
The first, item in the list will be Pujo. And second one. So our D will now be the third item.
Yeah, well, so you can see now. No, it will not be the third item.
Okay. Now, sorry.
Yes. Now, so we cannot do this. You can see we can update. Here we update the list, right? We update. We change the location here of our D to Pujo. But with tuple, we cannot update. It will give us an error. Can you see that? So here, when you are designing, for example, I gave an example website, you store the list of password of people maybe in a tuple, so that another person cannot hack your website, try to manipulate to change the password and try to do some kind of unscrupulous stuff. So that is if you have only one tuple. What about if you have one tuple? So you see, if we have one list, if we have A equals to list, I can have this. I said Isa. This is a single list, right? This is a single list with a single element. But in tuple, if you want to have a single element, you must put the item and put comma. This is the way tuple. If you want to have a single tuple, single item in tuple, it must be followed by the comma. Unlike list, if you have only one value in your tuple, you can indicate this by placing a trailing comma after the value inside the parentheses. Otherwise, Python will look. So let's look at this one. So let me show you something. So here we have A, and now I want to see the type of A. Type of A. Now this is A, and now I say Benz, and I put this trailing comma. Now I want to find what type of A. Let's run this. Can you see it says it's tuple? It's tuple, right? But when I delete this, for example, can you see it says string? Can you see the difference?
Yes.
So if it is a single item, a tuple must have this if it's a single item. So you should know this, we will see it when we come to our NumPy and Pandas stuff. This is very important thing. You should remember this. It's very confusing, but you should know it now. When we come to Pandas and NumPy, you will see this, what this is. So this is it. Yeah, so this is what we have today, and we are 14 minutes on top of the hour. Yeah, any question? So tomorrow we will see the same hour. I don't know if you ever will see the chapter 4. This is chapter 3 of the book we are working on. I asked you to read that book because we're gonna have this some kind of stuff here. So try to read chapter 4 of the book tomorrow. We read it if you are available. What do you think? Is that okay? We go to chapter 4 tomorrow?
Yes, it is okay.
All right. So what about Dr. Sana? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Shana Orjache Magana. Congrats, Kinda okay.
So
Har bari wai sai da aka zo karshe sannan nake ji yanzu.
Well,
yeah.
Dakta,
Now?
dan Allah please ana gama dan Allah